Well, hello there, Retro PC Durham. It's Chris here with another box. This one actually pretty cool. Managed to get this pickup here from a donation. This HP Workstation. It's an XW4400. Now, this is an older system, but as opposed to a lot of the Pentium 4 based machines I've been coming across recently, this one is an Intel Core 2 Duo, which is really good because it means we're not worried about single core processor based systems right now. It was obviously a Windows XP era machine, but the newer Core 2 product line from Intel meant that a much higher chance of being able to have the performance necessary to run an actual system. So take a look at the front end of the system here. This is a workstation class machine. So a couple things. It's tall. Quite a bit taller than a standard form factor tower server. It's also really heavy. Like really heavy. So very rugged and sturdy. Front end of the system here, we've got a media drive here, so there's a multi-burner. We've got our power button. There is room for some expansion and even a 3.5-inch expansion slot here if you did have something like a super disk or a zip drive or something still of this era that would be usable. And then on the front here, we've got Firewire, audio outputs, and then some USB ports, and then this grill which goes down all the way another, this far to the bottom of the system where you've got your air intake, again being an important thing on this system. We'll switch to the side here and I'll show you. Oh, it is a heavy guy. Okay, so this had a latch on it previously that you kind of pulled it off, but it was actually broken. So what I had to do was a little finagling to work the latch piece out of this system. So it wouldn't be, because it was broken and it wouldn't open without like some serious work to try and like stick screwdrivers in it and lift this up instead, because the latch itself didn't work anymore. So that's not that, it's not, brand new obviously, but still good. And the important thing is the case did have a spot to be able to put some standard case screws in. So that's what we did, was put standard case screws on it so that we could just unscrew it and be able to separate it normally. So we'll open that up in a second, but I just wanted to remove the screws now while I was talking, and then we'll move to the back of the system here and take a look at what's going on. So standard connectivity, this nice big power supply in here obviously is a workstation class machine with a case fan for cooling. PS2, serial and parallel ports, still of this era, lots of USB ports and Ethernet. And then as I tilt up here, and I'll show you, oh God, this guy's heavy. I will show you these additional ports. So I've installed an ATI graphics card in here in the PCI slot. The reason why I did that is because this power supply did have a GPU power connector on it. So I figured, hey, you know what? Instead of installing like a lower end PCI graphics card just to give graphics for this, because the system board doesn't have its own graphics, I'm going to use a graphics card that can actually be powered with this power supply. Might as well pair it up. So it does have a good graphics card in here for the time. And then at the very bottom, you'll see here this additional Firewire ports. So these connectors are actually not on a PCI slot. They're actually coming off a system board expansion. So again, for this time, a professional workstation having lots of Firewire ports to connect up to, multimedia devices, etc., was, a pretty common thing. Okay, so we're gonna slide off this panel now and show you our guts. So again, you see some common stuff here with, these tier 1 vendors. Oftentimes they try to do some toolless design stuff. So you've got these kind of clip designs here for removing and installing devices. The hard drive slots are faced this way, so you can, easily be able to connect them in and snap them into place. And then we'll take a look at the system board here. So for the system board here, we've got our Core 2 Duo processor. You see you got this nice big standing fan attached assembly for cooling the processor down. That's really good to have. We've got 4 PCIe slots for expansion. I think I only installed 4 gig of RAM in this system, but I believe it would go up to 16 gig of RAM, so it would be upgradable for additional performance. You've got 4 SATA ports on here. For connectivity, obviously you could upgrade and add an SSD or something to this system pretty easily to be able to power up. And then we've got this MSI ATI graphics card here. I think it's an R7360, I believe. So it's not a, not a big powerful graphics card, obviously, but it is get a little bit of power. And then you can see down here the Firewire port here, again, that it's got it. I believe the way this works is it's pulling power off of the PCI slot. Oh, I remember how this works. So it did need to be powered, right? So it's got PCI slot power plus some additional 3-pin power. It's got its own 2 ports here, and then there's a cable here that plugged into it that runs to the Firewire port at the front of the system. That's how that was worked. And apparently I left a piece of paper in here. Never mind that. Anyways, so that's how the system was pretty much all set up. Good to go, in very good condition, no problems with it, obviously. I did have to do with a little bit of finagling with the BIOS. When I booted it up, it was having a bunch of weird errors that I think may have been related to the previous settings on the system board. But I cleared the CMOS battery out and reset that all up, and then I was able to get everything back up and running the way it should be. So let's get this case back on here and get the system powered up, and we'll take a look at what kind of performance we are getting. Something that's kind of cool to note here is, with these workstations, because this was a business machine, they add these kind of cool things that you see where they have an actual board overview and information that's on here. So they have all the information of what all the ports are on the entire system board. It's got information on the memory requirements. It's got information on the memory instructions in terms of, if you're doing a 1, 2, or 4 DIMM configuration, how to put all that stuff together. This is the kind of cool stuff that you see with a lot of tier 1 vendors, that they'll add this capability in right with the system. So you don't have to worry about looking anything else up online or anything like that. Okay, let's get this powered up. Where all those fans get started, we get that HP logo up there. Version of the BIOS here was 2.07. That was the latest version. I flashed the BIOS as part of refreshing the system here, getting it up and running. Now we'll get Windows. We'll go Windows booting up here. This is a SATA hard drive, obviously, is installed in here, but again, it is a mechanical drive, so there's a certain amount of time it will take for everything to get booted up and running on the system. But as far as, having a machine that can be used for general computing, this is exactly the type of system that I love to get my hands on, right? A Core 2 Duo series system, the dual core processor is still perfectly acceptable for running any standard Windows applications. A discrete graphics adapter, which, paired up with this one, it is or is not. You could consider it overkill. I don't really consider it overkill. It's not a new graphics card. Certainly has more graphics memory in it than you need. But having a discrete graphics card that doesn't use up any system memory, so you've got all your system memory available to run the operating environment. It's got some upgradability to it, right? So if someone did want to keep it for the long term and did come across some, extra cash here or there, they could get a used, some additional memory and upgrade it past the 4 gig that's in there. You could put an SSD in this one very easily and improve the system Windows performance. You could even do some very light gaming on a system like this, like a Core 2 Duo with this older AMD. You could run like minimum graphics online titles. You could certainly play plenty of offline titles that aren't graphics heavy on this system as well. So it's got a good mix, obviously being able to handle for operating perspective. So let's get hardware info up here. We'll take a look at the specs, which are always so important. Now you will notice here, this is running, I'm going to run hardware info 64 because I did install the 64-bit version of Windows on this system with the intent that this is something that can handle the additional workload, the instructions. The processor can take it, and there's upgradability in the system for future use. So that's what's going on here. So we'll take a look at the specs on this system here. We've got that Intel Core 2 Duo. This is an E6600. So that's a two core, no hyper-threading, so only two threads processor that's running at up to 2.4 gigahertz. We've got a 320 gig SATA hard drive on here, which is all green. And then the media drive. We've got that MSI R7 360 graphics adapter. That's got 2 gig of memory in there. Perfectly fine to be able to handle, you know, standard Windows operating environment. And then we've got 4 1 gig DIMMs in here. That this is DDR2 memory, a pair of Samsungs and a pair of Kingston memory DIMMs that are running in the system as well. And again, this is upgradable. I think it's either 16 or 32 gig is the maximum memory that this system can handle. So plenty of upgradability and performance in the system. 480 watt power supply can handle, you know, whatever you're going to be throwing at it in terms of internal components that you're going to install on the system, which is good. I mean, this is a perfect machine for what I'm liking to do for donating these to a family in need. So the last thing we'll do here is I will pop up the Chrome here, and we'll pop over to Windows to YouTube, sorry, and show off performance here. If I remember correctly, when I tested this out, 1080p was kind of, I don't know, but 720p was perfect. So we'll pop in here. Oh, I forgot. This has got the integrated speaker in it as a workstation, which is pretty cool. So we will go wide angle here and check and see. We're running 1080p right now. So if I switch over to this part here, where is it? Where's the dance? Yeah, so 1080p is pretty good, right? Pretty good performance. I would say that we're not missing out on anything at all when it comes to that. So, you know, all in all, a good system. Someone's going to be able to handle this, you know, have a good time with this. It's going to do everything they need it to do. And that's really what the goal is here. So hope you enjoyed the video here. If you like what you're seeing here, don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff. But most importantly, I'm hoping that you guys are keeping safe and healthy out there. And until next time, you know, all that stuff, we'll catch you in the next one.